These are the Smoky Mountains, and that mist isn't just water vapor. It's a veil, hiding the forgotten history and the things that still hunt in those deep hollows. I'm a ranger, and these are the 3 stories they actively cover up to keep the trails open. You won't sleep after this one. Story 1, The Hollow Call. This story is from Ranger Liam "Lone" Scott, patrolling the deepest section of the park near the Tennessee side, known for its dense spruce fir forests and permanent fog. Liam was on a 3-day solo survey, checking for illegal trapping operations. The air was thick, cold, and utterly silent. He was miles from the nearest road, totally off the grid. He was setting up his trail camera when he heard a sound, a quick, distinct whistle coming from the ridge line above him. It wasn't loud, but it was too perfect and too human to be a bird. He stopped working. Whistling is a known signal for illegal operations. He quickly radioed the signal to base. The response was just crackling static. He figured it was just a random hiker, maybe lost, no immediate danger. He continued his survey, but the whistling returned, this time much closer, and now it was answering his own radio static. It was mimicking the exact frequency of the static in a series of sharp, painful clicks and whistles. Liam froze. That was some creepy stuff. He grabbed his thermal camera. Scanning the dense trees, he saw nothing but cold rock and wood. Then he noticed the mist itself. It was swirling, and right in the center of the clearing, the mist was parting to reveal a single object, a massive, freshly carved wooden hand, sitting upright on a stump, palm up. The whistling stopped, replaced by a deep, wet, hollow voice coming from the hand itself. "Come here, Liam. I hear you." Liam hit the gas on his ATV, throwing it into reverse. The wooden hand didn't move, but the voice screamed his name again, and the thick, white mist around him began to condense instantly into hundreds of sharp, icy pellets, stinging his face like needles. He drove backward, desperate to get out of the mist center. He risked a look back. The entire clearing was now covered in an impenetrable, swirling vortex of fog. And rising slowly from the stump, in the center of the vortex, was the dark, silhouetted shape of something immense and vertical, swaying in the fog, letting out a long, loud, desperate call that sounded exactly like his own voice screaming for help. Liam drove blind for an hour until he found a service road. He reported an unauthorized forest fire that destroyed his equipment. They searched the area with a drone. They found nothing. But the final report noted that every spruce and fir tree in the large circular clearing had a single, shallow, vertical gouge running up its trunk, as if something tall had scraped its way out of the ground. Liam retired and now works as a security guard in a brightly lit mall. He refuses to go outside when it's foggy, period. He told me that sometimes, when he walks past a department store with a loud intercom, he hears a faint, short, rhythmic whistle cutting through the noise. And whenever he answers the phone, he instinctively waits a second, terrified that the hollow voice of the mountain will answer, "I hear you, Liam." He knows the mountain didn't need to see him, it just needed his frequency. Hold up, that fog is heavy. If the quiet woods just got terrifying for you, do me a solid, slam that like button. And while you're at it, subscribe to Horror Spot. We are the only place telling the stories the government tries to hide. And tell me this in the comments, if you were trapped in the Smoky Mountains, what one piece of gear would you trust the most? Let me know. Story 2, The Cabin's Shadow. This happened near the abandoned historical sites of the park, involving Ranger Sarah History Jenkins. Sarah was researching the forgotten history of the settlers displaced by the park's creation. She was camping overnight near a derelict, isolated cabin known locally as the Sankey Place. The night was still, dry, and moonless. She was writing notes by the light of her lantern inside the cabin when she heard a distinct sound, a slow, rhythmic rocking noise coming from the front porch. Squeak, pause, squeak. She immediately stopped writing. She knew the rocking chair was broken and had been secured inside the cabin, not on the porch. She grabbed her flashlight. She thought maybe some kids messing around, nothing more. She opened the cabin door. Nothing on the porch. The rhythmic rocking sound was now coming from inside the cabin itself, right behind her. She spun around. The secured rocking chair was now rocking slowly, perfectly balanced on its broken legs. The rocking stopped instantly. A thin, frail, ancient voice whispered right beside her ear, "You found my chair, darlin'." The air in the cabin became instantly cold, thick with the smell of dust and old wood. She tried to radio bass. The radio was on, but the speaker was letting out a faint, dry, choking sound. She looked at the rocking chair, and she saw a faint, dark shadow sitting in the seat, a shadow that didn't match the angle of her lantern light. The voice returned, frail and desperate, "Don't leave, Sarah. I'm still here." Sarah lunged for the back window, smashing the glass with her elbow. She threw herself outside, scrambling away from the cabin. As she ran, she heard a horrifying, high-pitched wail coming from the cabin, and the front door slammed open with a massive, terrifying thud. The wail was replaced by the frantic sound of the rocking chair rocking violently, faster and faster. She ran until she was miles away, across the creek bed, plunging into the dense forest. She risked a look back. The entire cabin was still in darkness, but a faint, bright yellow light was now emanating from all the windows, pulsing with the sound of the manic rocking. Sarah made it back to the main station the next day, cut up and hysterical. She reported a fire hazard and illegal entry into the historical cabin. They investigated the cabin. It was untouched, except for the back window, which was cleanly broken. The report noted finding one object, Sarah's lantern, which she swore she left on the desk. It was found hanging from the ceiling inside the cabin, but the oil was gone, and the glass was shattered on the inside. Sarah quit the Rangers and now works as a history professor in a crowded city. She won't own any antiques, especially chairs, never again. She told me that sometimes, when she's trying to sleep, she hears a faint, slow squeak coming from the corner of her room. And whenever she leaves a room, she instinctively closes the door, terrified that the frail, ancient voice will whisper, "Don't leave, darlin'." She knows the cabin didn't just hold the ghost was waiting for a new visitor. Story 3, The Trail of Sweet Rot. This final story is from Ranger Grizz Adams, patrolling the remote, heavily forested areas near the Tennessee border. Grizz was tracking a large, aggressive black bear that had been spooked. He was deep in a valley where the air was always damp and earthy. Grizz was a straight shooter, no nonsense. Grizz was following the bear tracks when he smelled an overpowering scent, cinnamon, burnt sugar, and decay. It was thick, sickeningly sweet, and unnatural. He stopped his patrol. He scanned the dense undergrowth. He thought maybe a moonshiner's abandoned still or a discarded campsite, but the decay scent was too strong. He followed the terrible smell for 50 yards, and it led him to a clearing. In the center, he found a patch of moss and dead leaves arranged in a perfect circle. Resting in the center was a pile of small, perfectly preserved animal bones, bleached white, and sitting next to them was a small, crudely woven basket full of fresh, ripe apples, impossible in this climate. He heard a sound, not a snarl, but a faint, low humming coming from the trees all around the clearing. The humming was high-pitched, almost musical. He backed away slowly. He checked his radio. It was letting out a high-pitched screech, and his GPS was blinking rapidly, displaying a single, crude image, a circle with a wide, smiling mouth. Grizz knew he was in trouble. Something was playing with him. He turned and ran back toward the nearest trail. As he ran, the sickeningly sweet scent intensified, and the humming changed instantly into a furious, high-pitched buzzing coming from right behind his head. He risked a look back. The basket of apples in the clearing was now shaking violently, and the buzzing was so intense it felt like his skull was vibrating. He didn't wait. He ran until he reached the high ridge, crashing through the brush. He glanced back one last time. The entire valley below was suddenly flooded with a sickly, luminous green light, pulsing with the sound of the high-pitched buzzing. Grizz made it back to his truck and drove straight out of the park. He reported extreme disorientation and abandoned his gear. A recovery team went back. They found his gear, untouched. The apples and the bones were gone. But the final report noted that every single branch on every spruce tree in the clearing had a small, neat, shallow bite mark running along its side, too small for any known forest creature. Grizz retired immediately and now works as a locksmith in a dense urban area. He refuses to eat fruit, especially apples. He told me that sometimes, when he opens a jar of sweets, he smells that faint, sickeningly sweet scent of decay. And whenever he hears the sound of a large swarm of insects, he swears he sees a brief flash of luminous green in the corner of his eye. He knows that the thing in the clearing didn't hunt for food, it was gathering ingredients. That's the horror of the Smoky Mountains, the quietest, most unsettling terror in the country. The deep forest remembers everything. If these 3 horrifying, untold ranger stories kept you up all night, then please do us a huge favor, hit that like button. And make sure you subscribe to Horror Spot to keep these dark tales coming. For more secrets the rangers tried to hide, check out my 2 most recent videos. They are linked right now on your screen and in the description.